Tom Crean joining us, the ESPN college basketball analyst, had Kansas and Oklahoma last night. He'll be in studio starting tonight through Saturday. Big 12 SEC Challenge is all day on Saturday. Continental Tire, Coach's Corner. Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. Good to be with you. Great to hear that stat right there, too, about Robert Parrish. That's great.
Yeah, well, people forget he spent so much time in Boston, but I think he also was with the Bulls too late in his career. Did you have a favorite? Who was your favorite player growing up?
It had to be a Piston. It just kind of depended when I was growing up. It depended on what Piston was playing the best. But I would say my overall was probably John Havlicek because I got to see him play when I was a kid. And it was the night that he set the record for consecutive games. And to me, that was a big, big deal. So I would go with him. But I loved the Pistons, John Mengelt, Kevin Porter, people like that.
John Mengelt.
John Crash Mengelt. I was into that.
He may have led the nation in scoring or one of the top scorers at Auburn, right? I think he went to Auburn.
I think so, yeah. And I started following him when he was with the Bulls, and then he was a Piston.
John.
So really where I grew up, though, the overall greatest was Magic. To me, because growing up in that area, I was 12, I think, when they won the national championship. So you'd have to put him at the top of the list. But when it came to NBA guys, that would have been my group.
Who's the best player you've ever coached against?
That I've ever coached against? Oh, well, that's a good question. That where they played the best back in the old Conference USA, it would have been guys like Reese Gaines, who played for Rick at Louisville. It would have been Steve Logan, who played at Cincinnati. Like those guys were so hard to deal with. But I don't know if I have a player playing against Kansas in the 2003 Final Four. They had no weaknesses, and I'd never seen anybody that could do that. They had the speed to get the ball up the court that we had faced, like Kirk Heinrich, or a guy that was a forward that could run like Nick Collison. So I would probably go off the top of my head. I'd go with that Kansas group and those two guys as being the hardest to deal with.
Let's turn our attention to last night's game. And I thought Bill Self made a really big coaching mistake by leaving his big man in there and allowing Oklahoma to just give up fouls and exchange a missed free throw for trying to make a 2 or 3 at the other end. Your thought on that philosophy there?
Well, I've thought about that a lot, even this morning, in looking at that. And I got caught up in – I thought he was the whole key to the game. And in the first half, when he wasn't in there with the fouls that allowed Oklahoma to play, he's become so good at not only being able to score on the block, but to find cutters and passers. And it was an incredible strategy by Lon. So in retrospect, probably should have got him out maybe 2 possessions earlier. But the thing that concerned me more was that they were going to the foul line, and he had 2 offensive rebounders on the foul line, and none of those guys ever made an attempt to rebound the missed free throw.
Yep.
So at the time, you're not believing that he's going to miss all of his free throws. And it's really hard. You don't want to take the confidence of the guy and destroy him for somewhere down the line. And if he starts to hit a couple free throws, we're not even having the conversation. But never making an attempt to rebound the misses to even give them a chance to have a second shot opportunity was what would bewildered me. And I think that's on the players for not going hard to the glass when he took those shots, not anticipating it.
How do you explain big men who can't shoot free throws? Like at some point, and he played 4 years of high school, and he's been at Kansas, 2 years? I got to go to underhand, Coach, because what I'm seeing there is that's just a terrible form. And they probably worked with him, and it got it's better, but why not underhand for somebody like him?
Well, I don't know. I think that becomes you got to have a ton. It's easy for the Berries because they've grown up in it. But you've got to have a ton of self-confidence to attempt a shot like that in a game with a crowd of people. And I think it's a lot easier to look at it and think it'd be a good strategy and a lot harder to employ. But I've always tried to do, you're right, he's got to change his form. He turns his hand.
Yes.
And he really doesn't give him a chance to make the shot. But every time that, we've tried to work on different techniques with balance, with breathing, certainly the follow-through. But we used to spend more time when we had guys that were struggling at the line talking about being in position to rebound the ball. Okay, not saying, hey, we know he's going to miss. Let him focus on his shot that gets them thinking about rebounding the miss. And we actually beat Louisville one time when I was at Marquette because our guys were so ingrained. We had a free throw shooter up that was struggling shooting the ball. And because he came off the front of the rim, we had a certain technique that we were using. We called it a quick foot. We wanted to come with the inside foot. You know, there's a lot of different ways to coach free throw rebounding, but we just came straight in, and we ended up getting a tip. That ended up helped us win the game. So I always go to the counter point of that. Work with the guy individually, try to give him confidence, focus on his breathing, focus on his follow-through, but get your guys thinking we're going to be on a frenzy to rebound the ball when it goes up.
Do you believe that big men have a disadvantage when it comes to shooting free throws?
No, not at all. I think it all becomes because it's so much about balance and feet, and to me, anybody that shoots a hard ball, right? And like last night, Doak shoots a hard ball. That ball's coming off his hand hard. When you shoot a hard ball, it doesn't matter if you're a guard or a big man, you're going to have a hard time making shots. When you can get the ball up, get arc on it, have kind of a softer touch, and you have good feet and you've got balance, you can be a good shooter. I mean, it's certainly not affected the Dirk Nowitzkis of the world and people like that, because the ball always looks like it's going in, and when it misses, it doesn't miss long. So I've been more of a believer in how you shoot it, how you release it, what your footwork is like, how you shift your weight at the free throw line. And I don't think that is now the place where that becomes harder, bigger hands, right? When guys get the ball back in their palm, which certainly you're going to get with big men, that can be a real problem. And so you got to get them to have that fingertip control, which is easier said than done. So that would be the place where what you're asking I would definitely agree with. But the rest of it, I think it's all those other attributes of shooting that come into it.
He's Tom Crean, ESPN college basketball analyst, in studio starting tonight through Saturday. Big 12 SEC Challenge is all day on Saturday. Watching Trae Young, and I've watched probably 5 complete games this year, and I loved what I saw last night because I think that's how he should be. He should not. I thought it was embarrassing and really a terrible performance by him when he put up 39 shots over the weekend. They weren't good shots. He shows no confidence in his teammates. And then last night, I just loved that he was more economical, got his numbers, got to the line, got everybody involved, and they're a far more dangerous team. Your thoughts on what you saw with Young last night compared to other games this season?
Well, from a coach's mind, I would say this. What Lon did last night was outstanding. I mean, the strategies, the way that they played, but whatever he got done in practice and in the film room was even better. And because what he got a young guy to do, and from every account, we weren't involved in the recruiting, but from every account, he is way beyond his years maturity-wise. He certainly got a sense. I had a conversation with him back doing the Wichita State game about what he sees inside pick and roll and what he's looking at. And his advanced vision, his vision's incredible.
Yeah.
It's God's gift. But his advanced ability to read how the defense is playing is something there's guys in the NBA that don't have. I know I've had guys that were in the NBA now that were juniors and seniors before they got a level of that. So I think you're absolutely right. What Lon did to get him to absorb that he needed to play better, what he was able to look at, because when he didn't take a 3 in the first half, that was crazy. I mean, he didn't have a 3. He didn't have a free throw. He's averaging 10 free throws a game of the 22 that they take. He's taking the threes. And really, if they'd have made even some of the open shots that they had, he might have had 10 assists at half.
Mm-hmm.
For his age, a team that's as good as Kansas, but we were at the walkthrough, Kansas had a great plan for him. But to have that maturity and have that ability to literally control the game like he did in the first half and then carry it into the second half, that just took another level of special to me. I mean, it really did, because that's got to be your level of maturity, possession after possession, to play a game that way when you can score the way that he can. But there were times he was catching the ball, he wasn't even looking at the rim last night. And they guarded him well, but it wasn't like he couldn't get shots. And he just kept moving the ball at an incredible pace, and he drove the entire energy up of his team because of it. You're exactly right.
How much bigger is he going to get, or stronger, or fill out? I know his dad's, bigger, but he's kind of thin.
Well, I think a lot, and I think the one thing he's got now for his age, he's got deceptive. He's like, there's some real Curry qualities, and I think Steph Curry probably still does have a deceptive quickness, even though he's been in the NBA enough that people know it. But he had a deceptive quickness in college. He's got really good speed. He can play off either foot, which is easier said than done. So he can wiggle. There was a play last night that he took a shot. He shot faked. Graham got into him. He threw the ball, and he was on a dart, moving on the pass cut, and got a layup. Like, that's not easy. And so in answer to your question, when you look at his body, especially when you see his back, like he's got a strong back, he's got wide shoulders. I think he's going to get a lot stronger. I think his legs are going to get stronger. And I think he's going to get faster and quicker just because he's already got it and he's so young. So I don't think he's anywhere near becoming the athlete that he's going to be over the years. I've never seen him in the weight room, but I don't think he's anywhere near that. And I think he's just going to keep getting better and better.
It's a fun listen last night, Coach. I always learn something, and usually it's about shooting when I listen to you. And you said as Trae Young came down the floor, you said, watch for the slip screen. All of a sudden, there's a slip screen, and Manick hit the three. So it was a great call. Your Tony Romo impersonation.
Really good. Well, they hadn't run that all game, and that Manick, the thing that makes Trae Young, and usually great point guards are great, not only because they can make plays, but because they always are looking for their outlets. And Manick is one of the great outlet players because he does such a great job. Now, that was a set play, but he does such a great job of getting loose and moving without the ball. And he's going to be a household name in college. He would be right now and he probably already is to most of the NBA scouts that are paying attention to him. But that was a great play. The kid executed it. What I love about Young, he puts that ball right where you can shoot it. All you've got to do is release it.
Safe travels, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's Tom Crean, ESPN college basketball analyst.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.